So
Right.
now in Scrum, if I understood it correctly, the concept. So the big thing that I learned, what was the difference between Kanban and the product backlog when I Googled it, was your right to move work packages from the sprint backlog into
Very
the done
different.
file.
Yeah.
Now, in classical sprint, if you commit to doing 3 user stories or 4 tasks or whatever it is
Yep.
that fits into the sprint, right? You do them, and at the end of the sprint, you say, I did the
Done.
4, and I ask you, could you have done more? And you say yes or no. And if you say yes, then we consider increasing the amount of
In your
workload
next
that you
sprint.
theoretically could do. It's not an
Yes.
exact science, although they like to communicate it as that. But
It's not an exact science.
It's
your,
very far
again,
from
you're just,
it's more a crystal ball science.
yeah, we use historical data, all this kind of
Yeah.
good stuff to indicate
Yeah.
what's possible, not say this is absolutely. It doesn't work like that.
But the only thing that I heard what was the difference was you have to wait till the end of the sprint in Scrum to
Not
move it.
done
And
yet.
Kanban, if you're
Yeah.
finished with it, you move it over, which I thought made total sense. Why
Yes.
wouldn't you do that? And the awesome thing is, instead of waiting until the end of the sprint to say I could have done more, you just move it over and you say, give me some more to
Just do it.
right? Now,
Yeah.
but let me tell you something. I don't yeah, but
you
I don't
constantly
think that,
evaluate. Okay,
I
sorry,
don't think
please.
that different justifies creating 2 total
Yeah.
different
We're not done
forms of
yet.
Agile.
There's more. So
Please,
there's
pray
so
tell.
yes, if it was just that, then absolutely. They're so similar. Who cares, right? But there is actually more.
Okay.
Right? So one of the differences in Scrum, the assumption is you plan what you're going to work on, you get it done in the sprint, and at the end of the sprint, the work is done. Right.
Yeah.
How you get it done in the middle of that sprint is entirely up to the team. We don't spend a lot of time caring about it. You talk every day to make sure you're getting it, all that good stuff. But there's really no focus on flow. That's where Kanban comes in. That's the big difference. So with Kanban, you are focusing every single day, looking at things that are blocked, looking at what can we do to improve the flow of work to get it from start to finish as quickly as possible.
So that classical work chain flow, whatever it's called.
Yep, exactly.
Which is basically precedence diagram methodology.
Yeah, and exactly. And a lot of this comes from manufacturing. You think of manufacturing line, you want to get it from the first workstation to the last as quickly as possible.
Productive, non-productive time.
It's value add, non-value add. So you're looking at all those spaces between
which
the
is
steps.
brilliant.
It works great, right? So the focus of Kanban is very different from Scrum. Scrum is, here's your batch. You get it done by the end of the sprint. Go on to the next batch. Kanban, every single day, we're looking at what stopped. What can we do to get better? What can we do to move things along faster? Are we seeing things bottlenecking? So you're focusing on the flow of work to get it done as fast as possible. That's the key difference. And that's why there's also Scrum with Kanban. This is something that I use quite often. Even in Scrum, I take some Kanban concepts of flow management and WIP limits and things like that to improve my Scrum framework, right? So they can go together. Right?
Let me ask you, I think you told me that Kanban doesn't originally plan for a sprint.
It does not plan for a sprint at all.
So it's just continual workflow.
Continuous flow. It is literally continuous flow. You got your big old list. You start working on something, you finish something, you go to the next one. Just that.
Okay. Any other major differences?
Those are the big ones. The way that you set up Kanban can be different as well. You have things like class of service. You measure. So actually, here's a big difference. The way you forecast and the way you measure is very, very different. Scrum, there's that primary metric called velocity, right? Which is how much stuff you complete every sprint. Kanban doesn't have a sprint, so you can't use that. It doesn't exist. So instead, you use cycle time and throughput. It's a different way of measuring and a different set of metrics that we're going to use to see how much stuff we can get done.
Okay, but then if you're using cycle time, you can only measure it on work that's interrelated.
Generally true. So what you look for in Kanban is work that is similar. You look for patterns. They're work types. You got, let's say, one is you're building a report, and another type of work is you're installing a server. Very, very different kinds of work. They're going to have different kinds of cycle times, right? But if you measure the cycle time for each of those types of work, now you get more predictability. Like how long on average does it take you to install a server? It should be somewhat consistent.